Majora's Mask has a lot of odds and ends that have been talked about a lot, and some have gone pretty under the radar, which I suppose is the whole entire point of an iceberg chart. Anyway, you know how these work and you know what this game is. Only thing I'm going to clarify is that this is not a general topic iceberg for the game. You can read the title and description to get more of an idea of what I'm talking about, and you'll probably just get from seeing this. That and each layer is going to be its own video, so just make sure you have the next one or the playlist open as you watch this. Anyways, let's get the tip out of the way. The moon. The most recognizable thing from this game aside from the mask itself. Everyone has seen this thing's weird-ass face, and a lot of people find it creepy as fuck, and we don't know why it's like this exactly, and if it's always had a face, it's kind of unclear. There might be some implications that the face was maybe different before, and it's kind of interesting because the face itself, like, you can't really determine, like, what expression it's exactly giving, and something that the 3DS version ruined it by kind of giving it too much of a blatantly malicious look, and we'll try to avoid talking about that too much during this. But in Hyrule Warriors, you got to see it in glorious HD for the first time ever, and be super hyper-realistic, which is really cool at the time, and yeah, you can't go anywhere without this thing looming over you and reminding you, and on the third day, it's especially traumatizing. Elegy of Emptiness statues. Yep, the very ones that were made famous with the one whom is known as Ben, but even before that, these were quite odd and just one of those many overly creepy things in this game for no real reason. Well, the ones for the transformations, you can at least determine why, because, like, you know, you're creating the statue of someone who's passed on, like, it's practically a ghost, but what is with Link's? Why is Link so weird and freaked up looking? Like, what was the idea of, like, deciding this? What was the philosophy that was going on here? I remember hearing before that his face was based off of Miyamoto's face, but I gotta say, I don't really see this. I don't know how true that is or where that comes from, man. It's just one of those weird things in this game that's just there to traumatize kids, I guess. Can't think of any other explanation. Song of Healing. The iconic theme from this game, which is practically its main theme in a way. This song gives such mysterious vibes and just like a certain feeling whenever you hear it. Like, something about this song is simultaneously both soothing and unnerving. It's both relaxing and also haunting, and, you know, as the name says, like, it feels like something that could heal you, and it has nice hearts to go along with it, and, you know, it's good for the soul, but at the same time, there's kind of like this feeling of, like, certain dread to it, and it's just such an odd but beautifully put together melody, and it's also known for being backwards. I'm not talking about it being sorry a song backwards, which it is, but also when the song plays backwards, it also still carries this, but it intensifies it even more. You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you? This oddly striking line is another thing that was made famous by the Ben Drown creepypasta. Funny note, it's actually not called Ben Drown, it's called Haunted Cartridge, but whatever. Anyway, this is spoken by the Happy Mask Salesman at the beginning of the game when you're first about to enter Cloud Town as Deku Link. And there's just, again, something about this line that's so odd, so striking, and, like, very mysterious, but yet also to the point, and it just raises a lot of questions about the Happy Mask Salesman, which we'll talk about later on here, and, you know, some interpret it as, like, dying almost, but, you know, Link's not dead at that part. No, that stupid theory is not on here. But the thing about this is that if you game over and fail to stop the moon, which we'll also be talking about later on here, then This line will echo as the last thing that you see and hear before the game resets. Mysterious. This is tied to the most famous side quests in the game, aside from maybe Anju Cafe. But this is definitely the most famous one that deals with like weird stuff and paranormal stuff, and I'd say maybe more people know about this than Anju, but yeah, this is the aliens. Them refers to the aliens, and they're based off of the Flatwoods monster, I believe it is. And yeah, it's just such an odd and scary horror thing to put in the game that's already full of this. This still manages to stand out amongst the rest, and it's so cool and fun at the same time, though, and it's just one of the most memorable and crazy things they've ever put in a Zelda game. And if you mess up or don't do it, then like you see this cutscene of Romani getting abducted, and it's super freaky and crazy, and then she comes back 2 days later all messed up, and yeah, they just went all out with this. Ikana Canyon. This is the area of the game that is directly and blatantly designed around being horror-based. Everything around it's dead, it's full of skeletons and ghosts and mummies, gibdos. And, there's just so many, like, again, just direct horror events that happen here. Like, obviously, there's the graveyard and Sharp's Curse, which we're talking about later on, and the freaking Mummy Dad is the most famous one, and the Stone Tower Temple is here. And the music playing, that usually plays in, like, all of the areas before you fix them is here, but it's just even more unnerving here, especially since, like, the implications that there's not much different here. The place is just already this doomed and screwed up and done with, which, again, we'll explore a bit later on. AKA Toilet Hand. This is another scary but funny thing in the game. Again, it's just never explained, but when you go to the stock pod inn at midnight, then this hand pops off the toilet, probably scaring the crap off any unsuspecting players who didn't know about this. And, it looks like it probably wants to, like, freaking attack you like a wall master or something, but then you talk to it, and it uses the same voice clips as those, "Oh, yay!" things, and it just wants toilet paper, and if you give it, then it gives you a thumbs up and a heart piece before disappearing, and it's just one of those crazy-ass, unexplained random things that happens in this game, and it's one of the most famous, and it's become somewhat of a running gag in the series since. Deku Butler's son. This is something that was obscure until it was, like, brought up online a while ago, and it's become a very well-known thing now, and it's become, like, a piece of trivia that basically everyone knows, even, like, people who aren't really a fan of the game. Being that at the very start of the game, when you're Deku Link, after first being transformed, you come across this really eerie-looking, supposedly, like, dead-looking tree like Deku that's all warped and distorted and just absolutely, like, over-the-top disturbingly designed, and, it's just, like, a question mark examining it, and there's no real clue or points to why it's here, and it's real unsettling and striking. And then, later on in the game, after you clear, Woodfall, and if you do the race with the Deku Butler, he'll apologize for, like, going so fast and crazy and explain that he used to race with his brother, or his son. And, that's just, like, a one-line thing that's never brought up again. But also, if you do that quest, and then way later on, once you're done with the game and you beat it, the credits show him having to find that and mourning over that deceased Deku that we're talking about, implying that this was his son all along. And the reason why you reminded him of his son is because this is where the Deku mask came from. This, and pretty dark, because I guess it implies that Majora murdered him, and yeah, it's quite sad. Also, how did the Deku Butler get there? Because this place is completely locked out after you first exited, but I don't know. The intro. So this is the very first thing you're going to see ever booting up the game, and it really sets it up, because the way that mask spins around, and that freaking sound effect that plays as this happens, it is unnerving as crap. It's striking. Honestly, it's one of the things that always gets me in this game, and it happens every time you turn it on, and, you know, I don't like seeing it. I just want to mash start and get off there before it happens, and, you know, I feel like it's something that's, like, one of the most intensely, like, eerie things about the game, but it's just so, like, not really talked about, but at the same time, everyone knows it, which is, I guess, why. It's just such a natural thing, but yeah, it really lets you know that you're not in for the standard fun fare when you're getting into this, and I also like how they redid this with the trophy in the Melee special movie. Anyway, next up, we're going to be talking about slightly less known stuff that you probably have to actually play the game to at least know about more.